There is a number on your phone that nobody in your family has ever seen. You open the app maybe twice a week. You check it the way you check the weather in a city you're not traveling to. Not because it changes anything, not because you need to act, just because it's there. The number this morning is $284,119. You close the app before your coffee finishes brewing. You do not tell anyone. You never have. Your cousin Naomi is visiting this weekend. She'll ask at some point whether you can spot her $800 for a flight she wants to book. She'll say she'll get you back after her next check. You'll say sure. Both of you already know the math on after the next check, and neither of you will ever mention it again, and that's the cost, and you know the cost, and you send the $800 anyway because that's the role you're in now, and you didn't apply for it, and nobody ever told you what it would ask of you. Here is what most people don't understand about money and time. The account number is not the story. The account number is just the outcome. The story is the 23 years that built it, the boring decisions. The 163 a month habit you started so early, it stopped feeling like a decision at all. The crash you didn't sell through. The loan you said no to even when it cost you a friendship for a year. The gap you covered every month for 3 years without anyone at the dinner table knowing you were covering it. The number is $284,419. The story is everything that kept it moving when you weren't watching. And if you're sitting somewhere right now thinking that sounds like somebody else's life, somebody older, somebody who made more than you, somebody who had a head start you didn't, I want you to stay with me for the next 20 minutes. Because most people who are quietly building wealth do not know they're doing it. And most people who will never build it don't know that either. The difference between those two groups is smaller than you think. It is, in most cases, one form from HR that somebody never filled out. And we're going to walk through exactly how that happens, what it costs, and what it quietly becomes. What you're about to hear is not about sacrifice. It is not about skipping things you love or grinding until something breaks. It is about a set of decisions that compound invisibly for years until one Tuesday morning you open an app in a kitchen, close it before your coffee is done, and realize the number on your screen is larger than anything anyone in your family has ever said out loud. We are going to go through 6 moments. 6 specific points in the arc of a financial life that most people experience without recognizing them for what they are. The first 3 are building. The last 3 are what the building costs. And if you only take one thing from what I'm about to tell you, make it the last one, because that's the one nobody talks about. Let's start at the beginning. You are 23 years old and you just got your first real job. Not a gig, not a side thing, a badge, a schedule, a desk or a van or a counter, and a number that shows up on a pay stub twice a month. For most people in their early 20s, that number lands somewhere between $36,000 and $48,000 before taxes. Let's say yours is $41,000. After federal, state, and the 2 deductions on your stub, you had to Google. About $2,600 lands in your checking account every other Friday. Half of it is already spoken for. Rent in a shared house, phone, student loan minimums, groceries, the subscription services you signed up for and forgot about. By day 10 of the pay period, you are watching the balance with the same focus you didn't apply to anything in school. HR sends you an email about the retirement plan enrollment window. You almost archive it. Most people do. They mean to come back to it. The window closes and a new one opens a year later. And that one also almost gets archived. Some people archive it for 15 years before someone at a party mentions their 401k balance and they feel the specific nausea of a number they should have started earlier. You don't archive it. Not because you're unusually disciplined, because your roommate is filling hers out at the kitchen table and you sit down and fill yours out at the same time, mostly to have something to do while the pasta boils. The company matches 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%. You put in 6%. You pick the fund with the lowest expense ratio because the other options have longer names and you don't know what the longer names mean. The fund you pick charges 0.4% per year. The others charge between 0.6 and 1.1%. You don't know that gap will matter. You just wanted the shorter name. That decision, made in 9 minutes in a shared kitchen while pasta boiled, is the most financially significant thing you will do this decade. You will not know that for another 11 years. The amount leaving your check, $163 a month. After the match, $200 more for their $50 is going into the account every month. You stop noticing the $163 missing from your check by month 4. That's not discipline. That's automation. Automation is the entire strategy. Everything else is commentary. By the time you're 26, The balance is around $9,800. The market added about $600 over 2 years. You have a friend, let's call him Curtis, who earns more than you and always has. He installs commercial HVAC. In a good year, he clears $74,000. He financed a truck for 84 months at 11.9%. His payment is $668 a month. Over the life of that loan, he will pay $56,170 for a truck that cost $38,000 at purchase. 18th, $177 of that is the cost of borrowing. That number was in the paperwork. On the page he signed. In a line nobody read, the way almost nobody reads it, Curtis does not have a retirement account. He has a savings account with $3,200 in it and a plan to get serious about investing when things calm down a little. Most people have a version of this plan. Most people are still waiting for things to calm down in their mid-40s. You do not say anything to Curtis about any of this. You send him $60 for gas when he asks on a Thursday night. He sends it back Friday. That's the first time money moves between you in a direction that will never fully reverse. You don't know that yet. It's $60. It doesn't feel like a category, but it is. Here is the thing most people get wrong about building wealth in your 20s. They think it requires a surplus. They think you have to have extra money before you can start. You do not. You have to have an automatic transfer that happens before you can spend what would have been there. The $163 leaving your check before it lands in checking is not sacrifice. It's sequencing. You sequence the investment before the spending, and then you spend whatever is left without guilt because the work is already done. Most people sequence it backwards their entire lives. They spend first and invest whatever remains. Whatever remains is usually zero. This is not a revelation that requires intelligence. It requires one form, filled out once, before the pasta is done. That's the entire gap between the two financial lives most people are choosing between without knowing they're choosing. Now let's talk about year 9. Because year 9 is where the first real test happens. You are 32. The balance is $74,000. You know this not because you watch it closely, but because your HR portal sends an annual statement and you glanced at it before closing the email. $74,000, which is more than you made in any single year to this point. The number sits in your mind differently than it used to. It's not abstract anymore. It's real. Your sister Camille calls on a Wednesday afternoon. She texts. She always texts. A call on a Wednesday afternoon means something specific before she says a word. She asks, casually, what a used transmission runs these days. You give her a range. She says, okay, then she doesn't hang up. In the silence that follows, maybe 5 seconds, both of you understand exactly what the call is. And neither of you is going to be the one to say it first. You say you'll send it tonight. She says she'll pay it back. You say sure. It's $150. It doesn't move anything. The balance the day after is $150 from a different account. Not even the retirement fund. You're not touching that. But it opens something between you that money always opens when it moves in one direction between people who love each other. She pays back $600 over 4 months. Then her hours get cut and the payments stop. Neither of you ever brings it up again. Not at Thanksgiving, not ever. That's the actual price, and it's not $1,250. It's that you can't mention it for the rest of your life. It's the slight recalibration in how you both navigate the subject of money in every conversation after. It's the fact that from this point on, she will ask differently and you will answer differently, and both of you will carry the original number in silence. This is what most people don't account for when they think about being the financially stable one in a group of people they love. The money part is not the hard part. The relationship math is harder, and it only gets more complex as the balance climbs. But here's the part most people miss about this moment. The $1,850 was real, and the cost was real, but the balance kept moving. The $163 a month, now $480 a month, because you increased it. Every time you got a raise, kept leaving on the first of the month regardless of what was happening in your family, in your checking account, in your relationships. The automation doesn't know about Camille's transmission. It doesn't know about the $60 you sent Curtis. It just runs. That's the design. You build the system in the good quarter so that it runs through the bad ones without requiring a decision. Most people treat investing like a good intention. They invest when they have extra, when things are calm, when they feel ready. The problem is that none of those conditions are stable. Life is not a stable condition, but an automatic transfer is stable, and that stability compounds. Let's talk about what compounding actually looks like from the inside. You are 36. The market drops. Not a correction, a fall, down 31% from the top in about 10 weeks. You watch your balance go from $138,000 to $95,000 while you're eating lunch at your desk. On paper, you lose more in a single season than you earned in your first 2 years combined. You do not sell. I want to be precise about why, because most people tell this story wrong. It is not courage. It is not discipline. It is not because you had read some book and intellectually understood mean reversion. It's because you didn't open the app. You opened it once, saw $95,000, felt the specific dread of watching a number that used to be $138,000, and then closed it and didn't open it again for 11 weeks. And the $480 kept leaving on the first of the month, buying more shares of the same boring index fund at prices that will not exist again. Curtis sells. He moves everything to cash in week 3. He tells you he'll get back in when it's clear. It gets clear about 9 months later, roughly 38% higher than where he sold. By then, he has a reason not to buy back in, and the reason is a good one. He's got a business idea. He needs liquidity. The timing feels off. He is not foolish. Curtis is one of the smartest people you know. He just confused action with safety at the exact moment they were opposites. That is not a character flaw. It's a human reflex. Almost everyone has it. The difference between you and Curtis in this moment is not intelligence or discipline or research. It's that your system didn't give you the option to act, and the best financial system is usually the one that limits your options in the moments when your instincts are wrong. By the time the market fully recovers, your balance is $162,000. Curtis's is $44,000, the cash he kept, plus what he put back in late, plus the months he missed. He will spend the next 7 years closing a gap that one decision opened. That's not a judgment. That's arithmetic. I'm not done yet. Because the part nobody talks about comes next. You are 41. Your mother can no longer live alone. Not a slow realization. A fall, a hospital, a conversation with a social worker who hands you a brochure about memory care options and tells you that a decent facility runs between $4,800 and $6,200 a month depending on level of care. Your mother's Social Security covers $1,840 of it. The house she owns is worth about $195,000 and cannot be sold quickly. Even if it could, there is a look-back period for Medicaid eligibility that means decisions that would have protected assets needed to happen years ago in a conversation nobody had, because who has that conversation? Camille makes $44,000. Her husband makes $49,000. They have 2 kids, a car note, and a mortgage they're managing carefully. They have nothing liquid behind it. The family meeting to discuss your mother's care takes about an hour. Everyone in that room already knew how it would end before the meeting was scheduled. You cover the gap, $3,360 a month out of cash flow. Not from the retirement account. The retirement account has a job and this isn't it. You cover it from income, which means adjusting other things, which you do without announcing it, the way you've always done everything financial. Here is what most people overlook in this moment. Camille is at that facility 4 days a week. She handles the visits, the conversations with staff, the paperwork that requires someone to physically be present and emotionally present and available at 7 p.m. when a nurse calls. She is paying more than you are. The currency is just not dollars, and dollars are the only currency a family knows how to count out loud. You cover the financial gap. She covers the human one. Neither of you would trade positions. Neither of you chose the role you're in. You were assigned by arithmetic that nobody in your family ever ran. Your balance that year, $318,000. You have told no one, and here is the moment everything changes. Not a celebration, not a milestone email from your brokerage. A Thursday afternoon, 2 years later, when you're sitting at $389,000 and you realize that in an average year, the account is growing by more than you earn in 8 months of working. The growth has begun to outpace the contributions. More than half the balance is now money you never worked for. It is time, compounding, the arithmetic of decades. You are 43 years old and you have crossed a line that most people never cross, and you crossed it quietly in a shared kitchen at 23 while pasta boiled, and you are only noticing the line now from the other side of it. Most people never cross it, not because they can't, because they wait for conditions that never arrive, because the form from HR stays in the archive, because the $163 gets spent instead of invested, because they sell in week 3 of a crash and spend 9 years closing a gap that one afternoon opened. But wait, because there is one more thing I want you to understand. And this is the part that changes how you think about all of it. You are 47. Your balance is $512,000. You drive a 9-year-old car. You have the same haircut. You bring the same thing to every family dinner. Twice a year, somebody at that table says, "You've always been careful," the way people say it about someone who turns the lights off when they leave a room. They mean it as a small thing. They don't know it is the largest thing anyone at that table has ever built. You are the one who gets the call at 11 p.m. You are the one who covers the gap in the family meeting. You are the one who reads the letter from Medicare twice before calling the person who needs to hear it explained calmly. You are the one who sat across from a friend with a folder he'd spent 4 months building and said no because the rent escalator in year 3 wasn't survivable, and then carried that no for a year while the friendship went quiet. You never got to be the one who asks. That ended years ago, and you didn't notice the exact moment it ended. Being the financially stable person in your circle is not a feeling. It is a role. It comes with a job description nobody hands you. And the job description includes being available, covering gaps, saying no when the math demands it, saying yes when the person needs it, and carrying both in silence for the rest of your life. Most people imagine wealth as the point where all the pressure goes away, where the calls stop, where you get to be light. What actually happens for most people who build real money in real families is that the pressure changes shape. It doesn't disappear. The financial anxiety becomes relationship navigation. The scarcity worry becomes the weight of being the answer to someone else's scarcity. This is not a reason not to build. It is a reason to understand what you're building toward with clear eyes, because the people who build it knowing what it costs are the ones who hold it. The ones who build it expecting liberation and then find obligation instead, those are the ones who resent it, and resentment is expensive in ways that compound differently than money does. Here's what the math actually looks like when you lay it out. $163 a month at 23, increasing with every raise. 0.04% expense ratio. A crash you didn't sell through because you didn't open the app. A $1,250 transmission you covered and never mentioned again. 3 years of $3,360 a month for memory care out of cash flow. A restaurant loan you declined and lost a year of friendship over. A friend's advisor charging 1.76% annually. $3,344 a year on $190,000, while your 0.04% costs you $204 a year on twice as much. Total contributed over 24 years, roughly $198,000. Total balance at 47, $512,000. The other $314,000 was never yours to earn. It was time. You just didn't get in the way. Most people never let it run long enough to see that second number. Most people interrupt the compounding to fund a lifestyle upgrade, to time the market, to wait until conditions are better, to cover a gap from the wrong account. Every interruption resets a clock that takes years to rebuild momentum. The decisions that built this are not dramatic. They are boring. They are the form from HR, the lowest expense ratio, the app you didn't open in March of the bad year, the no you said to the folder, the coverage you provided quietly out of cash flow without touching the account that had a different job. The decisions that didn't build it are also not dramatic. They're 84-month financing on a truck. They're selling in week 3 because the number was falling. They're the advisor who charges 1.05% plus 0.71% in fund fees that never appear on any single statement in a way that's easy to see. Both paths are available to almost everyone with a badge that beeps on the way in. The fork is early and it is quiet, and it looks, in the moment, like paperwork. Somewhere tonight there is a 24-year-old in an apartment they share with 2 other people. There's an email from HR in their inbox about a retirement plan enrollment window. They've meant to open it. Maybe this is the week they do. Maybe it gets archived and the next window comes around and that one also almost gets archived. That email is not paperwork. It is the beginning of a number that nobody at their family dinners 23 years from now will know exists. It is the quiet start of a role they have not been asked to fill yet. It is 4 minutes in a kitchen that compounds into decades. The richest person in your circle did not win a lottery. They did not inherit the start. They did not find a shortcut that you missed. In most cases, in almost every case, they filled out a form, picked the boring fund, and then did not interfere with what they started. That's the whole thing. That's the part that sounds too simple to be true, and is anyway. You already know which path you're on. The question is whether you're going to decide which one, Or let the archive folder decide for you.